Are you a ghost?
Sally! That's rude! Unless she is a ghost.
It may come as a disappointment, but I am alive.
Ah,
That makes you a suspect, I'm afraid.
I know.
what's your name?
My name is Poppy. I'm a pointer. And a pianist.
We'll need to ask you a few questions about Freya.
I know.
Hey, you're pretty good.
All in the wrist. And 13 years of dedicated practice. I'm just me. There's nothing to know.
How are you related to the other pointers?
My father is Percival Pointer. The professor spends most of his time hidden away in his tower. Barely speaks to anyone these days. Especially not the fellows.
Do you get on with the fellows?
2 of them. Fifi and Freya are my closest friends. We all turned 19 last year.
Do people ever leave Tango Tower? I don't mean to be rude. It's just, if you're 19...
You don't have to answer that, Poppy.
It's a fair question. I'd like to move away. Definitely. Fifi, Freya, and I would often talk about it, argue about it. Freya wanted to leave, but Fifi... things are more complicated for her.
What about now?
After what happened, I really don't want to stay here much longer. 3.5 hours of piano practice, soon as I wake up. Same as always.
3.5. Does that not hurt your hands?
Sure.
And you do this in the music room?
No, I prefer to practice in my room. When I make mistakes, I like to make them in private.
What did you do after that?
I was supposed to meet Fifi in the library, but I totally forgot. When I finally got down there, she'd already gone. I checked her bedroom, but it was locked.
Was Fifi not in there?
No idea. She keeps her door locked either way, so I went back upstairs and out into the moonlight garden.
The what?
The little garden on the roof outside my room.
Was it just you up there?
No. Fitz came outside after a while. His room's on the other side. He's been teaching me about flowers.
So, did you talk to him?
Not really.
You ignored each other.
I didn't say that. Fitz and I were up in the moonlight garden most of the afternoon. Then we heard this sound. Lasted about 3 seconds. I've been trying to decide how to describe it, but I'm struggling. It was like something drilling into a piece of metal, but different. Worse. I was pretty sure it was coming from Flora's tower, so we went up there to check. Her door was locked. Nobody was answering. I knew Freya and Flora were both supposed to be in there, so I made Fitz kick down the door. I went inside. Freya was lying on the floor.
Flora was in the room too?
Yeah. I think she realized what had happened at the same moment I did. I didn't know what to do, so I ran downstairs to get Fifi. Her door was still locked, but I knocked and shouted at her. Eventually, she let me in. The lights were off, but I could see she'd already been crying. I told her what had happened. She didn't believe me. She got angry. First time I've ever seen her angry. I dragged her out into the hall. My father was there too, for some reason. The 3 of us went back up to Flora's tower. Then Felix arrived. He had Penny with him. Fifi had this idea. She wanted to do some kind of scientific test. She took me down to the library. We were in there about 15 minutes. After she was done, she went back upstairs and I went back to my room.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. Poppy's bedroom is unlocked.
I wonder what's in there. There's a
When I was a kid, I never knew the...
You still don't know, do
No.
you? Oh, whatever it is, it's playing.
Well, it is the music room. He's gotta practice.
What's with all the broken glass? Who plays the violin?
It's pretty dusty. So I'm guessing nobody.
Who plays the violin?
So I'm guessing nobody.
There's a...
When I was
You still don't know, do you?
No.
It's one of those big pianos with the...
Don't touch it.
Why not?
Might be haunted. It's a globe.
For globing. Sheet
That's a
probably
lot.
while they're on the floor. 1.
Yep.
25. 4. Am I the only one seeing the problem? Are they paper lanterns?
Whatever they are, it's like a little parade of floating spirits.
There's a name for this kind of piano. You know, these ones that stand upright. Various handmade
What do you think those say?
Hopefully, a big glass leads out into a garden.
There's a little mechanism.
Something happened.
That must be it. And the door's still locked.
I still feel like we made some sort of... It's locked.
I thought
We are.
What's that thing by the hand?
It made a noise.
I guess that was right. Finally.
Whatever's on the other side. It's another little statue, doing a really bad job of hiding in the bushes.
He's playing a lute this time.
He's also wearing headphones.
Well, they're not part of the statue, and they're not headphones. They're earmuffs. Giant stone frog. Love it.
Ah, he's got his tongue out like he's catching snowflakes.
Except those aren't snowflakes. They're feathers. That's one big dragonfly.
Or one very small dragon. It's a rose bush, growing on a little patch of bluish soil. Apart from a couple of loose petals on one side, the whole thing
The
looks...
roses are bright red.
Aren't roses normally that color?
Exactly.
A little pond.
It looks really, really deep for some reason. See those metal bars around the edges too?
Oh yeah. What do you suppose they're for?
Nothing anymore. Looks like somebody broke them and then never bothered to fix it.
Oh good. A bridge. I'm glad to know there's a way to get across that tiny, tiny pond.
Not all bridges are about getting across stuff. More egg statues.
I don't get it.
Well, either they have some special or the sculptor was just really lazy.
What do you mean?
An egg has got to be the easiest shape to make. More egg statues. Well, or the sculptor. An egg has got to be the more egg statues.
I don't get
Well,
it.
or an egg has got to be the
Stone pillars. Or what's left of them. The door into Poppy's.
So only Poppy and Fitz can get into the garden.
I guess so. The door into...
So-
I guess.
It's a metronome for keeping time.
It's ticking. Is it a bomb?
It's supposed to be ticking. Not sure what those symbols are, though. I did it.
Not bad. What happened?
Little hatch unlocked in the back.
Anything in there?
It's a photograph. Part of a photograph.
There's something about that pink cassette tape. Something suspicious.
Let's ask Poppy about it.
Does this belong to you, Poppy?
Now that's not really my style, is it?
But who else would own a tape like this?
Literally anybody?
Does this belong to you, Poppy?
Now that's not really my
But who else would own a tape?
Literally anybody? I don't know what that is.
Weird, considering we found it hidden in your room.
Well, my room is full of junk. There's probably a bunch of stuff hidden in there. I don't mean like... Please stop talking to me.
This is a photo of Fifi and Freya, right?
Yeah,
How come you're not in it? You're friends with them too, aren't you?
I'm not really one for photographs.
Fifi looks like she really admires Freya.
Fifi's loyalty to Freya is unshakable. It was my mother's originally.
So, why is it up in Flora's room?
She just gets the most use out of it. Freya would borrow it too sometimes.
Do you know where those earmuffs came from?
I put them there.
Why?
I found them lying around. I think they belonged to Fitz. I put them on the statue so he'd see them. I thought they looked like headphones, like he's in the recording studio with his guitar. No?
If they do belong to Fitz, he hasn't taken them back yet. When did you find them?
This morning.
Where?
I don't know, in a hallway. I can't remember exactly.
What do you make of the statue?
I know that's the only harp in the whole of Tangle Tower. I've never actually seen a real one.
Maybe it's from before your time.
Oh, definitely. You see how old this statue is?
What about the symbols? One of them looks like piano keys.
Yeah, weird. Don't look at me. I didn't break it.
Does anybody else use the music room?
Yes. I don't know who, but I can tell when somebody else has touched the piano. Oh, you've been to the greenhouse? What did you think?
Impressive, I guess. But kind of unsettling, with Fitz lurking in the shadows the whole time.
Yeah, he does that. I see a lot of birds up in the rooftop garden. They seem to really like it up there.
Why's that?
It's quiet. What was inside?
Nothing.
Huh. I think everybody sees something different.
Did Freya ever tell you what she saw in it?
Not exactly. She said something about it being from a recurring nightmare.
Sorry, but if it was from a nightmare, why would you paint it and leave it in front of your bed?
Maybe she wanted to take control of it. Giving something a physical form can make it easier to deal with. Well, sometimes. Is that a gardening trowel?
Yeah, I think it belongs to Fitz.
Really? Huh. never seen him use it. There's something I noticed about Freya's knife wound.
Hit me.
From what we could tell, the blade went in at an exact right angle, perpendicular to Freya's body. And there's only one small pool of blood. Nothing on Freya's hands, or anywhere else. The whole thing is just a little too peaceful.
So there are 2 families living in Tango Tower?
Mm-hmm. 3 pointers and 5 fellows. 4 fellows.
What's the connection between them?
There isn't one. Not really. It was all built by the Remington family. Flora's a Remington, originally. So was Primrose, my mother. She married into the Pointers, and Flora married into the Fellows.
So the Fellows and the Pointers own the house now?
Flora owns the house. Depending on who you ask. That means her husband Felix owns it too.
What about your father?
His claim over the house kind of fell apart after my mother left.
Where's your mother now?
No idea. When I first saw it, I thought it looked like Flora was holding a knife, with blood on the tip.
You don't think that anymore?
No, it was a stupid thing to say. The room was dark. I was in shock. I'm just an idiot.
But it was blood on the tip. If you hadn't said anything, maybe Fifi wouldn't have checked.
Exactly. It's stupid.
But we would have missed out on an important clue.
Is it a clue? Really? Tell me how it's a clue. Tell me how it helps. Nothing about the knife makes any sense. It's just freaking everyone out. Wish I'd never said anything. Freya would always load up the palette with all the exact colors she was gonna need. I think it helped her zone out and focus on the actual painting itself. Like getting all your sheet music lined up before playing a long piece.
Right. So the blob of black paint in the middle, that was for painting Flora?
Flora's dress, yeah. She wears even more black than I do. Why is the glass cracked down one side?
Natural wear and tear, maybe?
No way. Freya took good care of her stuff. Did you find that in Fifi's room?
No. Should we have?
No, it's just... It looks like something she'd use, don't you think? That belongs to Flora, I think. Is that Fifi's diary? I'm sure I've seen it in her room before.
That's where we found it.
Have you ever read it? Do you know what's written in there?
Nope. I'm sure she wouldn't appreciate me invading her privacy.
I thought you and Fifi were close friends.
Yeah, we are. It's just Fifi's gotten kinda impatient with me recently.
Do you know why?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure she'd tell you if you asked.
Oh, she would. She'd give it to me straight. Probably why I've been avoiding it. Whose paints are those?
They belong to Felix, I think.
Is that supposed to be Flora?
Possibly?
Oh, how nice.
An especially fancy cage.
And it's home to 3 especially fancy birds.
Oh, just beautiful. What is it?
Huh?
Sort of a delicate jade, but with a little seafoam green, is that right?
Sorry?
Your hair, dear! Which shade do you use? It's lovely! And that shape, you're really pushing the envelope.
Oh, thanks. I do what I can to offset Grimoire's beige on brown ensemble.
Detectives don't need to be brightly colored. We prefer to blend into the background.
Oh, you're the detective? Delightful. Penny Pointer, pleasure.
Is that short for Penelope?
Officially, yes, but I never can be bothered with all 4 syllables of it. Penelope sounds a little ostentatious coming out of the mouth, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah.
20-something, Aquarius, love to travel, and nearly all of my friends are birds.
Travel? Where to?
Anywhere at all, as long as it has species worth studying. Ornithology, they call it. I call it the only thing I've ever been good at.
And have you studied the birds here at Tangle Tower?
But of course! Where else do you think I developed my love of the field? No matter where I go, I always find myself coming home to Tangle Tower.
Because of the birds.
Oh, no, because of him! Silly to admit, but I suppose I can't bear for us to be apart.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, don't you know? My fiancé, dear Fitz. He's not really the traveling type, you see.
Fitz Fellow.
The very one.
You're engaged to a member of the Fellow family? That's interesting.
I'm not especially interested in whatever tedious feuding goes on between our two families. Fitz and I find it much easier to stay out of it altogether. I awoke early and headed down into the greenhouse to see Fitz. He's always there, crack of dawn, every morning like clockwork.
How come?
It's where he's happiest. That and he has a great deal of work to do every day, watering, pruning, mulching, whatever that is.
Do you help him with the work in the greenhouse?
Oh, no. I wouldn't dream of it. I'd probably break something.
So, you stayed with Fitz the whole day?
No. In the early afternoon, he went back inside. Rather suddenly, as it happens.
Did he say why?
He didn't. Probably just a touch of heat stroke, the poor dear. He's more delicate than you'd think.
What did you do after that?
Let's see. I returned to the aviary to feed my birds.
And how many birds are you responsible for?
Officially 4, but in truth it's more like 400.
Can they not feed themselves?
Of course, and they often do. But I think they just like the company. As do I. Sometime in the evening, I left the aviary and headed back towards my room. But in the hall, I spotted Uncle Pointer heading down the stairs. He was muttering something. Seemed a bit upset, the poor dear. I followed him down, but the grand hall was empty by the time I got there. Empty aside from Detective Hawkshaw, who was loitering over by the library. I don't know what it was, but she looked a little lost. I inquired about the professor, and she told me he'd gone up the Fellow Tower. I ran up the stairs, hoping to catch up with him, but Felix appeared and blocked my path. For some reason, he was coming out of Fitz's bedroom. He looked rather lost, too. I told him I was looking for Uncle. He suggested we look up in Flora's tower room. We could see from the hallway. The door was off its hinges. I knew then something was terribly wrong. A moment later, we were gazing down on the body of poor Freya. Uncle Pointer was there. Fitz, too, standing over in the corner with Fifi and Poppy.
What about Flora?
Of course, silent as ever. Uncle suggested we should leave. Give the others some space, you know. So he and I both returned to our rooms in Pointer Tower. Somebody taken an interest in extinct animals.
Extinct.
Oh, yes. The book is very old. Most of the birds in it are long gone.
Well, what about this bird, though? The ink dip.
This one? Well, it was thought to be extinct for a long time. Then one was found here at Tangle Tower.
So it's not extinct.
You misunderstand. It was the last one. The very last.
Oh.
You know, it's probably quite impressive. To a visitor, fresh eyes and all that.
Not to you?
Try living in it for 20 years. The sheen wears off. If it wasn't for my Fitz, I'd have little reason to stay.
What about inheritance? You're the next oldest pointer after your uncle, aren't you?
Well, thank you very much for phrasing it like that. But no, any money left in the Pointer family will pass down directly to Poppy.
Is that fair?
I Couldn't care less, to be perfectly honest. Oh, did Fitz show you that?
Not exactly.
We found it hidden under his bed.
Ah, right. I must say the girls are awfully well behaved today. I think they know we're in the presence of company.
They belong to you? Why do you keep them in a cage?
They need a special diet, particular treatment. I let them out to fly occasionally, of course. But they're all one of a kind. I couldn't let anything happen to them.
Do they have names?
Of course. Let me introduce you to Tabitha, Tamara, and Tatiana.
I've already forgotten all three of those names.
Which one is which?
Oh, that's simple. Tatiana is the oldest, Tabitha is the most patient, and Tamara has the best sense of rhythm.
Glad we cleared that up.
What about the one on your head?
On my head? He's just my hat. He doesn't have a name. Who would name their hat? Ooh, a secret diary.
That's our guess, too.
Excellent. There used to be all kinds of birds here at Tangle Tower. The most fascinating breeds, all totally unique.
Used to be? There are birds all over the place.
Most of them are rather ordinary, I'm afraid.
What happened to the non-ordinary ones?
That is a very good question. Lovely. Haven't seen this one in a while. He lives in the music room, doesn't he?
Currently.
If I'm not mistaken, that little red and white one is supposed to be a bird of some kind. A bit vain to carve wooden figurines of oneself, isn't it? Freya was very talented, even at that age.
Do you know how old this photo is?
Not sure. Must be a couple of years at least. Sometime before Fiona settled on her current style. I know a lot of people rather like this painting, but it's a little much for me. I find it overbearing. And for some reason, it makes me feel bad for Freya. I think she was more troubled than we knew. I can't decide what's worse. How she looks here, or how she looks now.
Do you know who this is? In the photo?
Oh, absolutely no idea. Ooh, delightful. More of a gemstone than a fruit, isn't it?
Inedible, too, I think.
Yes. At one point, I thought Fitz might be growing them to sell them. But honestly, I think he just likes the way they look. I don't know what that is. Gaudy old thing, isn't it? Flora seems very fond of it. I've never understood why. But then I could say the same thing about her husband.
Heyo!
Oh, terrible.
You recognize it?
Color scheme. 3 different pinks. Obscene. Poppy's gramophone. She's had it for a long time. As a young child, she'd call it her mama phone, on account of it belonging to her mother.
That's cute.
Oh yes, adorable. Oh, that's rather sad. Freya doesn't take very good care of her pains, does she? But then she was always rather bohemian, had her own priorities. I doubt Freya intended it, but the overall effect is a little unsettling, don't you think? It's Flora that's the problem. She's an inescapably haunting presence, bless her. I'm sure I've read about this creature somewhere. Don't remember anything about him playing the harp, though. Finally! I get to see a detective's case file.
That's a very specific thing to be excited about.
Only last week I asked that miserable Hawkshaw woman if I could see her case notes.
I'm guessing she said no.
Would have been much more polite if she had just said no. Instead, she was quite rude to me. Accused me of being, what was it? A shallow sensationalist.
We can get into Penny's room now.
Now, like, right now?
My little writing desk.
There's nothing written in the book, although someone's torn a page. I don't like mirrors. They steal your soul.
How do you get your hair so symmetrical without using a mirror?
I do by weight. I can feel if one side is heavier than the other. Check out that butterfly.
Looks evil.
Wow, judgmental.
What's with those little windows down there?
I think they're there for draining rainwater.
Oh. A rather magnificent bush. Somewhat cruelly confined to a stone pot.
There's a letter P carved into the side. They're bird cages, but the birds are coming and going freely.
Is that a metaphor?
Oh, it totally is.
I feel like I'm standing in a giant bird cage.
It's a birdhouse.
Are those real birds? Nope, they're wooden.
They're using up all the perches. What if a real bird wanted to use it?
No, that was it.
Nice work. Did the door open? What's in there?
That's some flower.
There's something weird about it. It just feels out of place.
That bed. It's like something from a fairy tale.
Does it feel warm over here? Or is it just...
No, you're right. Maybe the bed has some kind of heater.
It's not coming from the bed. It's coming from the wall.
Ever get the feeling you're being watched?
Mannequins don't have eyes.
That's not a comforting sentence. Looks like nature invited itself in. Rude.
You know, the birds can
Oh,
easily...
that's true. Can they even... Let's at least introduce ourselves.
Always a good roll.
Shh, listen. Do you hear them? The stars. They're whispering. So quiet, and yet so loud.
What are they whispering about? Are they spreading rumors about us?
I shouldn't think they concern themselves with such insignificance. We are but specks of dust, you and I.
Mm-hmm. Could this speck of dust start by telling me his name?
You find yourself standing in the astronomy tower of one Professor Percival Pointer.
Seems like this tower belongs to the Pointers, and the other one belongs to the Fellows.
Well observed, my dear. Tangle Tower is something of a duality, as it happens. Meaningless boundaries, really. They exist only in our minds.
Helpful.
Me? Not much to say. Strictly speaking, I'm the current head of the Pointer family. And, of course, father to my precious Poppy.
And a professional astronomer?
Oh no, that's just a little hobby. I mean, yes, I've studied the stars for over 35 years, published 17 books.
Just a little hobby.
Sounds like you're quite well known. You must bring in a good amount of money.
Oh dear me, no. My field of research has never yielded any kind of stable financial return, nor would I expect it to. I am nothing but a humble interpreter for the cosmos, working to translate its message so that I may share it with the world.
Cool. Tell the cosmos I say hi.
The day began as any other, with blissful, unremarkable routine. I took my usual morning walk around the gardens. Fresh air does wonders for the mind.
Did you see anyone else?
Penelope and Fitz were in the greenhouse together. I didn't bother them, of course. I sat for a while besides the pond in the garden. It's a favorite spot of mine. Eventually, I returned to my tower and buried myself in my studies for the afternoon.
Did you use your telescope yesterday?
Once the stars began to appear, naturally.
For how long?
I can't say. I've been known to lose hours at my telescope.
Did you see anything?
No actual discoveries, if that's what you mean.
So you were all alone up in the astronomy tower. Must have been a while before you found out what had happened to Freya.
Quite. Normally, I would be the last to find out about such a thing. But a curious tug of fate led me towards the fellow tower later that evening. I was at my telescope for the majority of the evening, but at one point I returned to my desk to look something up in a reference book. I couldn't find the book I wanted, so I figured Fiona must have borrowed it. I left my tower and headed down towards the Grand Hall. I spotted Detective Hawkshaw coming out of the library. She looked impatient and slightly frustrated.
Same as ever then?
Quite. I passed her by and went upstairs to Fiona's room. The door was locked, but I could hear shouting coming from inside. I recognized Fiona's voice as well as the voice of my own daughter. I had no desire to invade their privacy by eavesdropping, so I waited for them to finish and come out into the hall. Before I could ask about the book, Poppy grabbed my hand and took me upstairs along with Fiona. It was apparent that both of them had already been crying about something. We went up to Flora's tower. Freya was laying on her back, right in the middle of the room. Flora and Fitz were already there. They both looked stoic as ever. Felix and Penny arrived shortly after we did, and then Fiona went downstairs with Poppy for some reason. I quickly decided that I should leave also. I took Penelope with me, and we both went back to our rooms in Pointer Tower.
Why did you leave so quickly? Wasn't there anything you could have done to help?
Don't take this the wrong way, but the whole ordeal is fellow family business. I'm quite sure they don't need me getting in the way at a time like that.
That's all the statements.
Let's go over them all. That's all the statements collected. Let's run through them all to see if anything doesn't add up.
To see if anyone's been lying.
That too.
Fitz and I were up in the moonlight garden most of the afternoon. Then we heard this sound. Lasted about 3 seconds.
We thought it was coming from Flora's tower, so we went up there.
Her door was locked. Nobody was answering. So I made Fitz kick down the door.
Poppy and I went in. Freya was right there, laying on her back.
I left my tower and headed down towards the Grand Hall.
But in the hall, I spotted Uncle Pointer heading down the stairs.
I vacated the library, but before I could begin my ascent, Professor Pointer appeared.
I didn't know what to do. So I ran downstairs to get Fifi.
I heard someone heading down the stairs. They're just outside my room.
Someone began banging on the door. I ignored it until the someone began shouting at me.
Eventually, she let me in.
I spotted Detective Hawkshaw coming out of the library.
He emerged from the Pointer staircase, crossed the hall, and begun up the fellow staircase. As I was passing through the front door,
Penelope called out from behind me. I inquired about the professor, and she told me he'd gone up the fellow tower.
I told her what had happened. She didn't believe me. She got angry.
I thought she was playing a trick on me, so I punched her in the face.
I recognized Fiona's voice as well as the voice of my own daughter.
We left the room, and Poppy's father was waiting outside. He followed us upstairs.
I ran up the stairs, hoping to catch up with him, but Felix appeared and blocked my path.
Back in the hallway, I bumped into a very concerned-looking Penelope. She was heading up Fellow Tower to find Professor Pointer, so I escorted her.
Poppy left the room for a while. When she came back, she had her father with her, and Fifi too.
Felix and Penny arrived shortly after we did.
A moment later, we were gazing down on the body of poor Freya.
Then, I took a sample of the red paint on the unfinished painting.
She took me down to the library. We were in there about 15 minutes.
I quickly decided that I should leave also. I took Penelope with me, and we both went back to our rooms in Pointer Tower.
I wanted to go back to my room, but I realized nobody had told Detective Hawkshaw anything.
An unremarkable hour passed before the gardener finally made his appearance.
I think she was annoyed about being made to wait outside so long. But when I told her about Freya, she fell silent.
That's disappointing.
What is?
All the statements line up with each other.
They don't just line up. Some of them even seem to specifically confirm each other.
Should we take another look? Should we take another look? Looks like he's playing a semi-grand pedal.
You're some kind of harp expert.
Did you not know? A little handheld one, only 8 strings.
Liar.
It's the truth, I swear.
Let's come back later.
Those petals, they,
What?
they're red. A flower.
Yeah, it's a flower. We found it in Penny's room.
Okay.
Mean anything to you?
Why would it?
Come on.
I don't really go into Penny's room or anywhere in Pointer Tower. I just don't have a reason to. Penelope's 3 favorite birds. She's very protective over them.
Are they, like, her pets? Do they have names?
Oh, they have names. Penelope loves to name things.
Do you remember what she named them?
I do not.
Any idea who this is?
No idea.
We found these up in the rooftop garden. Do you know how long they've been there?
No, could have been a long time. We don't ever really clear up the rooftop garden.
Why not?
Nature is unruly. In truth, it prefers to be left alone. Wait, those are mine, the earmuffs. They went missing about a week ago.
What do you need earmuffs for?
I use them for gardening sometimes.
Why? You don't own a chainsaw, do you?
No. I wear them while I'm gardening, and it stops people from trying to talk to me.
That's genius.
What's with the broken glass? That's quite sweet, really. Felix made that? Huh. It's Fifi and Freya.
Don't you think Poppy should be in the photo too?
Maybe, maybe not. She doesn't really like crowds.
2 people isn't a crowd.
Right, but if she was in the photo, then it'd be 3.
Checkmate.
Freya's best work, in my opinion. Although, the photo doesn't carry the same energy as the real thing.
What do you think it's a painting of?
What do you mean?
Like, what's the subject matter? What's that big red thing?
Oh, I don't think it's that kind of painting. Penelope knows about birds. You should ask her instead.
Actually, I wanted to ask you about something. There's a plant mentioned on this page, see? Do you have any? In the greenhouse?
No, I don't grow that anymore. I've tried, in the past. It's incredibly difficult, even for me. I could never get it to live more than a couple of weeks. Looks like someone doesn't want you to read that book.
That's the main thing making me want to read it. This is yours, Fitz?
Yeah.
Do you use it?
I keep all my tools in the greenhouse.
That wasn't what she asked.
This is a good example of how things work. I mix that soil here in the greenhouse. It's made with water from the lake.
And it makes the fruit grow all shiny and gem-stony?
Sometimes. You never really know what's going to happen.
And what do you do with this shiny, inedible fruit?
You look at it.
You ever seen this before, Fitz?
No, but I don't normally go into Fifi's room.
That's not where we found it.
Oh, I just thought it looks like it belongs to her. It's an egg with feet.
It was locked, but we opened it, but it was empty.
Fun story. That looks like it might belong to Poppy. That belongs to Poppy.
So why is it up in Flora's tower?
I'm not sure. Paints are different to flowers.
I'd say so, yeah.
At any time, flowers can bloom with perfect, faultless colors. Red, blue, white. With paint, once you've tainted a color by mixing it with others, not even the most skilled painter can return it to its pure form. There's something off about this.
What is it?
Why don't you take another look at Flora's room?
You think we missed a clue up there?
Not exactly.
What do you think that is in Flora's hand?
I don't know. It does look like a knife, but Flora wasn't holding anything at all when I saw her, after the murder. But there's something bothering me. Something else.
What?
When we went into Flora's room, she wasn't standing in this position.
Well, she probably would have moved around a little bit by then.
She wasn't standing at all. She was kneeling on the floor. It's of no interest to me, but I overheard Poppy and Freya talking about it once.
What were they saying?
They were arguing about something, but I can't remember the details. Who gave you that information?
Well...
We don't actually know who it was. We were contacted anonymously.
I see. And what happens if the person who contacted you turns out to be the murderer?
I never thought about that.
Honestly, that would be kind of fun. Like a twist, you know?
Nice painting. Gives you a pretty good idea of the layout.
The lake looks like it forms a perfect circle around the island.
It might seem strange to you, but nature is quite capable of producing perfectly geometric forms.
And those mountain cliff things around the outside?
We don't know much about them. They're unscalable. Not even Freya could have gone up there.
What's that?
This painting, it's speculative. There are no photographs from this angle as far as I know.
So Freya just made it up.
Let's call it an informed estimation.
A little chart of... Actually, I have no idea what it's... Kinda reminds me of a periodic table. Kinda reminds me of a periodic table.
What do you make of it?
Not a whole lot. Tools used by gardening.
And you consider that important evidence? These people really are. 3 birds, 1. What makes them worth keeping cooped up? Would not be happier flying.
But then they might fly away from Tangle Tower
I
and
wonder if they would. Who's that?
Not sure. It doesn't.
Strange. Do you also have a pile of
Oh,
leaves?
not yet. Did you see?
1 of 3 statues. This one. Perhaps they belong to.
They're not headphones. They're earmuffs.
Perhaps they belong to someone who doesn't. You truly consider this a case file?
What's wrong with it?
No organization, no system.
That's my style. I like seeing everything laid out at once. Yeah, it helps me think.
How quaint. I believe that was in Florida. But it was not cracked when I saw it last. A diary. Have you read it?
Not yet. It's locked.
And you haven't attempted to force it open?
That would be cheating.
I admit, it's powerful. Freya was a talented young woman.
Someone even liked it enough to take a photo of it.
Now, we don't know why they took the photograph, do we? Perhaps they just wanted it for reference. Some breed of amphibious humanoid, potentially bipedal, although none of the statues show the creature's feet.
I guess we'll never know.
These figurines remind me of a case I once solved involving a possessed doll. Turned out to be a bit of a smokescreen, as these things often do.
Your life sounds fun. Grimoire, why don't we ever have fun adventures like that?
Are we not having a fun adventure right at this very moment?
I'd tell him not to quit his day job, but he hasn't got one, has he? A photograph of Freya. Could be important. A book from the library. One of hundreds, no doubt. What makes this one special?
It's about birds.
Yes, I see that. This is a potential murder weapon, is it not?
I don't know. I don't think the murderer would leave the murder weapon just lying around.
I think you'd be surprised as to what people leave lying around. The people here are surprisingly materialistic, considering how sheltered they are.
Materialistic?
Growing this fruit simply because it produces a gemstone-like material. For what possible purpose, other than financial gain?
You're speculating.
What would you do, Grimoire, if you could grow valuable stone straight from the earth?
This belongs to you, Hawkshaw?
Correct.
And, what is it?
It's my handheld microscope for up-close investigation work.
What do you magnify with it?
Trace particles, dust, oils, clothing fibers.
Have you used it here at Tangle Tower?
I have. I used it to examine the greenhouse only 2 days ago.
What were you looking for?
That is between myself and my client. You got it open. I'm impressed. I managed it myself yesterday. I thought Flora might be hiding something in there.
It was empty yesterday, too.
It was. Perhaps it's always been empty. A somewhat cumbersome device, and an altogether inefficient way to listen to music.
What kind of music do you like, Hawkshaw?
I like anything.
What a cop-out.
Paints?
Yep.
Paints.
Mm-hmm.
The paint is still wet.
Yeah, well, we know Freya was in the middle of painting when she was killed.
Do you know that? How? Because you were told? Makes quite an impression, doesn't it? Although I can't imagine why she painted Flora wielding a knife.
You didn't see a knife anywhere in Flora's room, did you?
I did not. I conclude whatever stabbed Freya must have been brought into the room from outside. Unless, of course, it was the painting itself.
Surely you don't believe in that kind of thing.
A detective's job is to examine every avenue of thinking. Have you deciphered the meaning of those 4 symbols on the harp?
We're working on it.
That's a no, then. Tangle Tower. No idea why they insist on calling it that. It's not even a tower. It's little more than a pair of turrets stuck on either side of a mansion.
Have you searched the whole place?
I believe so. Why?
He wants to know if you found any secret rooms.
Huh. I'm afraid the residents of Tangle Tower are far too ordinary for anything like that. I was disappointed too.
It is a flower. It reminds me of something, but I cannot say what.
Do you know who was reading this book?
It belongs to my mother.
And she left it in the library?
No, my mother has not been in the library for some time. Who is this her to whom the message refers?
Well, I don't know exactly.
Then how can I meaningfully evaluate this object? Next! I am scared of birds.
Why?
It is an irrational fear. I have no suitable explanation.
Oh. Who is that in the photo?
I'm quite sure that I have no idea. This photograph is my favorite photograph.
So, why'd you rip it in half?
That was not me. Besides, it was not a half that was ripped off. It was only a third. What a mess. Penelope should tidy up after herself.
These weren't dropped by Penny. They were dropped by birds, I think.
My argument stands.
What's wrong?
Earmuffs do not go on statues. Why did Poppy leave shards of glass all over this statue?
What makes you think it was Poppy?
The statue lives in the music room. Who else would it be? It is a model of Freya, made by my father.
A model of Flora, you mean?
And a man with a beard. And a little red and white creature.
Why would my father make a model of Freya? A wooden carving of my father, made by my father. Although, now that I look at it, I do not understand how he was able to paint the red parts without any red paint. I believe Freya was attempting to communicate something through this painting.
Any idea what it was?
I am not the person to ask. All I see is a blood-red mountain with angry storm clouds brewing above it. As such, I cannot ascertain any meaning from it whatsoever. A book. My book.
And what's in it?
Pages. That blade.
It's a troll for gardening.
It is. The fruit here has a unique chemical makeup. It makes them completely pointless. Unless you wish to cut it down and sell it as a precious stone.
It's not edible?
Depends.
On what?
On the structural integrity of your teeth. This belongs to Professor Pointer, does it not?
No, I don't think so.
Who else would own such a pointless little telescope?
It's a telescope.
Oh yes, it has a telescopic lens. It could only be used for looking at things that are far away. That belongs to my mother. I think she must be fond of eggs. There are a number of egg-shaped carvings to be found in the garden and in the Grand Hall.
Yeah, what's the deal with all the eggs?
Some people just like eggs.
Is she laughing?
The gramophone belongs to Poppy, but I believe she gave it to my mother, and my mother often loaned it to Freya. Or maybe it is the other way around.
When did it get cracked?
I cannot pinpoint it exactly. All I know is that it must have happened sometime in the last 2 days.
Fifi, did you test the red paint in this pot?
Yes, I did. I discovered it too was blood, not paint.
A whole pot full of blood?
Not a whole pot. It is only partially full.
Yeah, but still. Doesn't that freak you out?
No. In fact, it may be considered rather reassuring. The red paint on the brush is not paint. It is blood. Same for the palette.
So Freya added the blood to the painting herself?
Or blood got on the brush and palette some other way?
I do not know the answer. Freya is normally highly skilled at capturing someone's likeness, but in this painting, she has accidentally made Flora look quite young.
I think she was just being kind.
Why is that kind? Anyway, I'm far more interested in what Flora is holding. I performed the test on the red paint myself. I discovered that it was in fact not paint, but blood.
What made you want to test it in the first place?
It was Poppy. She told me she thought the painting looked like a bloody knife. I told her not to be ridiculous. My mother owns no such knife. But then I noticed that the color was slightly too dark, and the substance itself was overly viscous.
You noticed that just from looking at it once?
Of course. The statue itself does not interest me, but I do wish to know about those symbols on the harp. Have you deciphered their meaning yet?
We're working on it.
We are?
I require facts. What do you know?
Well, we know Freya was stabbed with a knife, and then she fell—
Correction. She was stabbed with something. There was no knife found at the crime scene.
Apart from the one in the painting.
Which, as a mere abstract representation, does not count. Nobody has ever been stabbed by the concept of a knife. What is your opinion of Tangle Tower?
Oh, it's impressive. Elaborate gardens, unique architecture.
Must be worth a fortune.
Why do you ask, Fifi?
I am the heir of the Fellow family and the Remington family. This makes me the sole beneficiary of Tangle Tower.
That's quite an inheritance.
They can't make you do anything, Fifi. If you don't want the house, just tell them. Or just sell it. Who cares?
You sound like her.
There's something about that diary we found in Fifi's room. Something suspicious.
Let's ask her about it.
I've been carving for a couple of years now. I was hopeless when I started, but it didn't take me long to master it, as you can see.
Do you paint them yourself, too?
I do indeed. Freya kindly taught me the basics. Nowadays, I can make just about anything I can imagine. Of course, this particular model is a self-portrait based on hard fact.
Hard fact, huh? So, you own a sword, Felix?
Of course. I own a great many. But my weapons are stored well away from Tangle Tower. Safety first and all that. Rather ugly, isn't it, as far as statues go? Years of wind and rain have not been kind to it either.
Do you know what it is? The creature, I mean.
It's connected to the Remington family history in some way, but I can't recall. It would have been a beautiful painting. It's rather a shame Freya was unable to finish it.
Nothing about it seems strange to you.
Well, all these modern paintings are slightly strange, aren't they? The emotion of the piece taking over from, say, anatomical accuracy.
What about the knife in Flora's hand?
A knife? That's what you see?
You don't?
Well, as I was saying, Freya's artistic approach distorts certain shapes. Hard to say exactly what we're looking at. It's unlike her to leave paint on the brush.
I think we'll give her a pass, given the circumstances.
Ah, yes. So we shall. Looks like Freya's paints.
Do you know why the pots are cracked down one side?
No, that's very odd. They're normally in excellent condition.
You seem pretty sure about that.
Flora's quite fond of that old thing. It's in poor shape, though.
Do you know what happened to it?
Can't say I do. But that looks like it might belong to Poppy. What's this?
It's my case file. It's how I know what I'm supposed to be doing.
You mean to say you're bound by the limits of what's written in this little document? Sounds dreadful.
I found it comforting.
Charming, isn't it? Yes. Built by the Remington family originally. Dear Flora's father and his associates.
But now it's owned by you? By the Fellow family?
The Fellows and the Pointers have both come to claim a certain degree of ownership.
And who named it Tangle Tower?
Flora chose the name.
What does it mean?
I think it was her intention that it mean nothing at all. Something of a fresh start.
From what?
This really isn't for me to say, but she had some kind of disagreement with her siblings. After they moved away, Flora changed the name of the house. I think perhaps she hoped it would make them feel unwelcome, is less likely to come back.
That's kind of extreme.
Yes, it is rather, isn't it?
Does Flora normally keep something in here?
She must do, but I admit I've never managed to work out what.
Why not just ask her?
I feel like if somebody keeps something locked away in a ceramic egg, it's because they don't want to be asked about it.
Rules to live by.
Why don't you ask Fiona about that one? Looks like her area of expertise. That looks like it might belong to Fitz. I've never seen that before. Looks valuable. Where did you find that?
It was in the library.
Really? How odd. Why would someone lock up a book like that?
We think it's a secret diary.
Aha! Teenagers are funny, aren't they? That's one of Freya's paintings, is it not? It's impressive, but a little miserable for my tastes. My daughter Fiona and her best friend. They grow up so fast.
Do you know why it's ripped like that?
Ah, yes. I didn't even notice. No idea. Ah, you found it. What do you think, huh? I had to rush the final touches a little bit. It turned out all right, though.
What's it supposed to be?
It's Flora, of course, surrounded by all her favorite people. Now, this is still in very good condition, apart from the crack, of course.
What about those shards on the inside of the horn?
Looks like somebody broke a glass and was trying to conceal the evidence. Cunning.
The statue was up in the rooftop garden.
Yes, it's been there a while. You can see the brass is slightly tarnished by the elements, but it's not too bad. Might be salvageable. Is that a clue? Really?
It might be.
Oh dear.
Do you know who this is?
Not a clue. Bizarre things, aren't they? Penelope seems rather attached to them.
Do you not feel sorry for them in that little cage?
Come now, I'm sure they could leave if they really wanted to. Goodness me! That looks like it might belong to Fitz.
There's something about the image of Flora in the painting. Something
Let's ask her about it.